When summer stone fruits like peaches and nectarines are in the peak of season, I always go back and forth between pie or crumble bar. Well, today we're going to have the best of both worlds. It's a peach pie crumble bar that uses a press-in shortbread crust. First, you have to prep your pan. I have an 8-inch square baking pan that I've buttered and lined with parchment and then buttered the parchment again. And I love to use these handy little binder clips to keep the parchment from collapsing down into whatever it is you're baking. And do leave about a 2-inch overhang on your pan so that you can very easily lift out the bars once they've cooled. For the shortbread crust, we have a stick and 5 tablespoons of unsalted butter. And that's going to get a cup of sugar. And these just need to combine until the mixture is nice and light and fluffy. And you'll want to have a handy little spatula like this and just scrape the mixture down into the bottom of the bowl again a few times. Okay. You'll also notice that the butter mixture becomes a little paler as it beats. Only 2 more ingredients to go before we have our shortbread crust. But before we add those, the bowl needs 1 more quick scrape down. Okay. And when you're adding these dry ingredients, you want to do that on a slower speed. Otherwise, the whole thing will just come up into your face. I've done it many times. I don't recommend it. Salt first so that it evenly incorporates into the butter mixture. It's a teaspoon of coarse salt. And 2 cups of all-purpose flour. I'm just going to reduce the speed a little bit as I start to add the flour. Just a little bit at a time. This will also ensure that it doesn't fly out of the mixing bowl as you add it. And this just needs to beat until it becomes crumbly and clumpy. It's already happening. Yeah, that looks pretty darn good. Okay. So 2½ cups of this mixture is going to get pressed into the bottom of the pan. And 2 and a half. That's about a half. Close enough. And just set the rest aside. That will be used for the crumble topping. Oh, and actually, I'm taking this measure back because it makes quick work of pressing the mixture evenly into the bottom. Also, because we're adding fruit to this, we need to create walls on the sides. So just press some of that mixture about halfway up the sides of the pan. This 8-inch baking dish is 2 inches deep. So that would be about a 1-inch wall. Okay, I think we're nearly there. The walls just prevent the juices from flowing up and under the crust, which is not such a good idea, because then you might have a soggy bottom. Nobody likes a soggy bottom. Okay. And you can just set this aside while you work on the filling. Now for the filling, we need 1¼ pounds of peaches or nectarines if you prefer those. I have cling peaches today, which means that the stone in the center clings to the flesh. It doesn't just sort of come right out like a freestone peach. But what you can do is turn it gently so the one side pops out quite easily. And this side is the beast. I like to take a little demi-tasse spoon and just run the spoon around the pit. You don't want to lose any of that flesh. Oh, all right. And into small pieces. You could certainly do this with plums as well. That would be delicious. Or apricots, whatever your preferred stone fruit is. 1/2 cup of granulated sugar into the bowl. And salt, always, 1/2 teaspoon. Lemon juice. Any kind of pie like this, or bar in this case, takes acidity. It needs it to balance the sweetness. And it also brings out the natural flavors of the fruit. You don't actually taste the lemon per se. About a tablespoon. And you do need a little bit of a thickener. I like to use flour, 2 tablespoons, and just give this a quick toss to combine. What I like to do is I just fold it together until I don't see any more dry flour, and that tells me that it's all been mixed evenly. All right, I would say that looks ready to go. And into the bottom crust. May seem like a lot of fruit, but it really does cook down. And it looks like I've made my walls of shortbread just high enough. You should also have your oven preheated to 375 degrees at this point. And now for the crumble topping. I like nice big chunks of topping, leaving some space in between so that you see that fruit sort of popping through. And as you do it, just give that mixture a squeeze in your hand before you crumble it into larger chunks. That'll help ensure that it holds together as it bakes. Already smells so good, and it's not even in the oven yet. And into the oven, this can now go. Our peach pie crumble bar is cooled and ready to cut and eat. Very important, let it cool in the pan for about 20 minutes, and then lift from the parchment and let it cool completely on a wire rack before you cut into it. It cuts very easily into bars, and I like mine a la mode with vanilla ice cream. Look how pretty that is. Yum. Right on top. Nice generous scoop. Oh yeah. And that makes for a delicious and beautiful summertime dessert. Happy eating.